it's your friendly neighborhood madwoman here. It seems that Alabama has passed HB 314, a 10-page bill addressing abortion. There's a lot of hullabaloo like the Georgia one. The Georgia one I will cover tomorrow. I'm just covering the Alabama one today. Hopefully, between this week and next week, I will have all these abortion bills that are popping up in all these states on this channel covered, read, and commentated on. So if any of you guys want to use this as any reference in future videos or link it during conversations, I will also have the link to the bill in the description below so you guys can read it and realize that this is in fact the entire bill and that I am not taking anything out of context. However, if it does seem like I am not understanding what I am reading, that's what the comment section is for, so feel free to join the conversation. Let's get to it, shall we? Alright, first of all, they go through a synopsis because you got to summarize the thing before you start hitting us with 10 tons of legalese. So, this bill would make abortion and attempted abortion felony offenses except in cases where abortion is necessary in order to prevent a serious health risk to the unborn child's mother. This bill would provide that a woman who receives an abortion would not be held criminally culpable or civilly liable for receiving the abortion. Amendment 621 of the Constitution of Alabama of 1901, now appearing as Section 111.05 of the official recompilation of the Constitution of Alabama, as amended, prohibits a general law whose purpose or effect would be to require a new or increased expenditure of local funds from becoming effective with regard to a local government entity without enactment by 2/3 vote unless it comes within one of a number of specified exceptions. It is approved by the affected entity or the legislature approves funds or provides a local source of revenue to the entity for the purpose. So far, if I'm understanding this, they're not funding these things. The purpose or effect of this bill would be to require a new or increased expenditure of local funds within the meaning of the amendment. However, the bill does not require approval of a local governmental entity or enactment by 2/3 vote to become effective, because it comes within one of the specified exceptions contained in the amendment. A bill to be enacted, entitled An Act, relating to abortion and to make abortion and attempted abortion felony offenses, except in cases where abortion is necessary in order to prevent a serious health risk to the unborn child's mother, to provide that a woman who receives an abortion will not be held criminally culpable or civilly liable for receiving the abortion, and in connection therewith would have as its purpose or effect the requirement of a new or increased expenditure of local funds, blah, blah, blah. We're talking about the local funds still. All right, so we are getting into, here we go, Section 1. This act shall be known as the Alabama Human Life Protection Act. Section 2, well, that was a quick section. Legislative findings. This state statute criminalizing abortion, Section 13A-13-7, Code of Alabama, 1975, has never been repealed. It has remained unenforceable as a result of the U.S. Supreme Court decision in Roe v. Wade, 410 U.S. 113, 1973, and its progeny, which struck down as unconstitutional a state statute, a Texas statute criminalizing abortion, and which effectively repealed any implication and made unenforceable all other state statutes criminalizing abortion. In other words, they have a law on the books against abortion, but because of Roe v. Wade, they couldn't enforce the abortion law they had already on the books. So Alabama's already had a no abortion law on the books. Roe v. Wade blocked them from enforcing it. On November 6, 2018, electors in this state approved by a majority vote a constitutional amendment to the Constitution of Alabama of 1901, declaring and affirming the public policy of the state to recognize and support the sanctity of unborn life and the rights of unborn children. In other words, they recognize that the child growing in your womb is in fact something that needs to be protected, or someone that needs to be protected. The amendment made it clear that the Constitution of Alabama of 1901 does not include a right to an abortion or require the funding of abortions using public funds. Simply stated, it is not a woman's right to have an abortion, and it is not the obligation of the state to pay for said abortions. In the present state law, Section 13A61, Code of Alabama 1975, defines a person for homicide purposes to include an unborn child in utero at any stage of development, regardless of viability. In other words, if you kill a pregnant woman, that's a double homicide, not a single homicide. In the United States Declaration of Independence, the principle of natural law that all men are created equal was articulated. The self-evident truth found in natural law that all human beings are equal from creation was at least one of the bases for the anti-slavery movement, the women's suffrage movement, the Nuremberg war crimes trials, and the American civil rights movement. If those movements have not been able to appeal the truth of the universal human equality, they could not have been successful. They go through a lot of these histrionics going back and saying, well, this led to this, which led to this, which ultimately led to this, which couldn't have happened if this didn't happen. They do this a lot in this bill. For 10 pages, they go through a lot of histrionics. That's just the first one. The second one's upcoming. Abortion advocates speak to women's rights, but they ignore the unborn child, while medical science has increasingly recognized the humanity of the unborn child. F. Recent medical advances prove a baby's heart starts to beat at around 6 weeks. At around 8 weeks, the heartbeat can be heard through an ultrasound examination. A fetal Doppler can detect a fetal heartbeat as early as 10 weeks. Ultrasound imaging shows a developing child in utero. As early as 6 weeks after fertilization, fetal photography shows the clear development of a human being. The Alabama Department of Public Health publication, Did You Know, ... demonstrates through actual pictures at 2-week intervals throughout the entire pregnancy the clear images of a developing human being. Okay, some people are talking online about this saying that it starts at conception. Life starts at conception. And I kind of went with some of those before I opened this bill and started reading it. Here, they're clearly defining when a heartbeat starts, when it can be detected, when it can be found, and so forth. The development of the fetus and so forth, but there is no mention of them so far. There is no mention of them saying that life starts at conception. Okay. And here comes some more histrionics. It is estimated that 6 million Jewish people were murdered in German concentration camps during World War II. That is correct. 3 million people were executed by Joseph Stalin's regime in Soviet gulags. Correct. 2.5 million people were murdered during the Chinese Great Leap Forward in 1958. Again, correct. 1.5 to 3 million people were murdered by the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia during the 1970s, also right, and approximately 1 million people were murdered during the Rwandan genocide in 1994. All of these are widely acknowledged to have been crimes against humanity, true. By comparison, more than 50 million babies have been aborted in the United States since the Roe decision of 1973, more than 3 times the number who were killed in German death camps, Chinese purges, Stalin's gulags, Cambodian killing fields, and the Rwandan genocide combined. This is what I call histrionics. This is what I call false equivalency. It is true. All that is historically and factually true. However, I find it a bit of a fallacy, and it really did not need to be put in the bill, in my opinion. That is just my opinion. The cases of Roe v. Wade and his progeny have endangered much civil litigation and legislative attempts to rein in so-called abortion rights. Roe v. Wade attempted to define when abortion of an unborn child would be legal. I can't talk all of a sudden. Judges and legal scholars have disagreed and dissented with its finding. Section 3. As used in this act, the following terms shall have the following meaning. So they're defining this clearly now in Section 3. Abortion. The use or prescription of any instrument, medicine, drug, or any other substance or device with the intent to terminate the pregnancy of a woman known to be pregnant with knowledge that the termination by those means will with reasonable likelihood cause the death of the unborn child. The term does not include these activities if done with the intent to save the life or preserve the health of an unborn child, remove the dead unborn child, to deliver the unborn child prematurely to avoid a serious health risk to the unborn child's mother, or to preserve the health of her unborn child. The term does not include a procedure or act to terminate the pregnancy of a woman with ectopic pregnancy, nor does it include the procedure or act to terminate the pregnancy of a woman when the unborn child has a lethal anomaly. Ectopic pregnancy, any pregnancy resulting from either a fertilized egg that is implanted or attached outside the uterus, or a fertilized egg implanted inside the cornu of the uterus. Lethal anomaly, a condition from which an unborn child would die after birth or shortly after thereafter, or be stillborn. In other words, you give birth to a dead baby, stillbirth. Medical emergencies, a condition which, in reasonable judgment, so complicates the medical condition of the pregnant woman that her pregnancy must be terminated to avoid serious health risk, as defined in this act. Okay. A person licensed to practice medicine and surgery, this is a physician, or osteopathic medicine and surgery in Alabama. Okay. Somehow gynecology and obstetrics, I guess, is generally under medicine, even though you're getting a little particular there. I don't get it. Okay. Serious risk to the unborn child's mother. In reasonable medical judgment, the child's mother has a condition that so complicates her medical condition that it necessitates the termination of her pregnancy to avert her death or to avert serious risk of substantial physical impairment of a major bodily function. This term does not include a condition based on a claim that the woman is suffering from an emotional condition or a mental illness which will cause her to engage in conduct that intends to result in her death or the death of her unborn child. Okay, now we're getting into the mental aspect of the bill. Let's see here. However, the condition may exist if a second physician who is licensed in Alabama as a psychiatrist with a minimum of 3 years of clinical experience examines the woman and documents that the woman has a diagnosed serious mental illness, and because of it, there is reasonable medical judgment that she will engage in conduct that could result in her death or the death of her unborn child. If the medical diagnosis and likelihood of conduct is confirmed as provided in this act, and it is determined that a termination of her pregnancy is medically necessary to avoid the conduct, the termination may be performed and shall be only performed by a physician licensed in Alabama in a hospital as defined in the Alabama Administrative Code, and to which he or she has admitting privileges. Okay, there's a bit of an iffy situation here because, I can see schizophrenia where you cannot take antipsychotics because it's not healthy for the child, so that creates a mental instability in the mother that could lead to the mother harming herself or the child she's carrying. I get that. So that part I understand. What I don't understand is if they're also including postpartum depression, which in serious cases can lead to the mother killing the child. I don't think you can diagnose that pre-birth. I'm not a doctor. And for disclaimer, I am not a professional healthcare physician. I am not reading this bill with the intention of prescribing diagnosing any illnesses or prescribing any remedies therein. If you are ill, sick, or pregnant, please, it is your responsibility to visit a licensed physician. I'm not it. Now that I have said the disclaimer, I do not think there is a possible way to diagnose postpartum depression pre-birth. That's just me. I don't think there is. But as far as other, mental conditions where you have to take, antipsychotics and stuff, I can see this in a way. 7, unborn child or person, a human being, specifically including an unborn child in utero at any stage of development. Okay. At any stage of development is a general term, and I believe at conception could be included in at any stage of development. They're not making that clear, and that's I don't like that. Regardless of viability, here you go. I think this is where including an unborn child in utero at any stage of development, regardless of viability. So I think here is where they're including the at conception. I like how they're kind of wiggle wording this to see if they can get it past Roe versus Wade. Woman, a female human being, whether or not she has reached the age of maturity. Section 4. It shall be unlawful for any person to intentionally perform or attempt to perform an abortion except as provided for by Section B. We've already been over that. Oh, well, here we go. An abortion, here's Section B. Oh, what's the following section? Section B. Learn to read. Reading is fundamental. An abortion shall be permitted if an attending physician licensed in Alabama determines that an abortion is necessary in order to prevent a serious health risk to the unborn child's mother, except in the case of a medical emergency as defined herein, like the ectopic pregnancy and so forth, which we've already been over. The physician's determination shall be confirmed in writing by a second physician licensed in Alabama. In other words, you have to get a second opinion. The confirmation shall occur within 180 days after the abortion is completed and shall be prima facie evidence for a permitted abortion. In other words, you go to your doctor, you determine that you're physically unable to carry this child and remain healthy. It is a detriment to your health, so you go ahead and you have the abortion, but then you need another physician to back up the first physician's assessment that your life was in danger, henceforth needing the abortion after you've had the abortion. Wouldn't it make more sense to get a second opinion while you're still pregnant? That's just a question. I'm just throwing that out there. Section 5. No woman upon whom an abortion is performed or attempted to be performed shall be criminally or civilly liable. Furthermore, no physician confirming the serious health risk to the child's mother shall be criminally or civilly liable for those actions. Section 6. An abortion performed in violation of this act is a Class A felony. An attempted abortion performed in violation of this act is a Class C felony. Section 7. This act shall not apply to a physician licensed in Alabama performing a termination of pregnancy or assisting in performing a termination of pregnancy due to a medical emergency as defined by this act. Okay. Section 8. The construction of existing statutes and regulations that regulate or recognize abortion in Alabama that are in conflict with or antagonistic to this act shall be repealed as null and void and shall recognize the prohibition of abortion as provided in this act. If this act is challenged and enjoined pending a final judicial decision, the existing statutes and regulations that regulate or recognize abortion shall remain in effect during that time. Section 9. Although this bill would have as its purpose or effect the requirement of a new or increased expenditure of local funds, the bill is excluded from further requirements and application under Amendment 621, now appearing as Section 111.05 of the official recompilation of the Constitution of Alabama. 1901 is amended because the bill defines a new crime or amends the definition of an existing crime. Section 10. This act shall become effective 6 months following its passage and approval by the governor or it's otherwise becoming law. So, we're talking November of this year. 6 months. All right. Okay. Let's come back over here. All right. So, obviously it doesn't mention incest or rape. So, a lot of people, including me, are assuming that this anti-abortion bill does not include abortions in cases of rape or incest. I don't agree with that. It doesn't establish a clear time limit. In other words, X number of weeks until you can no longer ask for an abortion. So to me, it's like you cannot have an abortion, period, unless the doctor says that it is a major health issue for the mother carrying the baby. I have a problem with that. Like I said, it doesn't include rape and it doesn't include incest. It doesn't include either one. So this bill, in my opinion, I don't think this bill is going to, if it passes, it's not going to pass through the Supreme Court, because this is definitely something against Roe versus Wade, because there's no clear time limit. In other words, You know, in Georgia, it used to be 12 weeks. When I read that bill, you'll realize it's reduced to 6 or 8. That one too is ambiguous in certain places and areas. This one even outlaws medication that would induce abortions, like Plan B and any morning after pills like that, which I don't agree with. And this is my stance on abortion. Okay? Abortions, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, should only be allowed in cases where it is clearly established that the mother's life is in clear and present danger of ending or being impaired in such a way as to make her disabled if she carries this child. An abortion should be allowed in cases of rape and in cases of incest. Abortions should be allowed up to 12 weeks, allowing for ample time for anybody to make decisions if birth control has been used on both the mother and the father's part. If the pregnant woman and the father of said child agree that the abortion needs to happen because of financial issues or something like that. Because let's face it, the woman can be on the pill. I'm a pill baby. Hi, I'm a pill baby. The only contraception or birth control that is 100% effective is abstaining from sex. We can all agree on that. The most effective contraceptives out there are only 99.999% effective, which means you can be on the pill, he can be wearing a condom, that condom can bust, you can be that 0.1%, and guess what? Congratulations, you're pregnant. So if both of you agree that you're not ready for this responsibility, that you're financially unable to raise this child, you should have up to 12 weeks to decide as a team, because both of you created this life, whether or not an abortion should happen. If the father does not agree and does not want the child, then an abortion should happen. Sorry, ladies. Sorry, ladies. If the mother doesn't want the child, but the father wants the child, there's that gray area. Okay? Because being pregnant changes a woman's body drastically. We go through a lot of hormonal changes, a lot of our organs shift to make space for that baby. We're the ones that are carrying that life and growing that life for 40 weeks. So before you decide to look at that woman that you got pregnant and said, I don't care whether you want an abortion or not, I want that baby, take careful consideration to what you're saying, especially if you're in a relationship with somebody that you cannot stand and you cannot get along with. Because bringing a baby into a broken relationship and a broken marriage doesn't fix the relationship, and it doesn't fix the marriage. It puts the child through hell. Until next time, catch you later.
As always, thank you for watching. If you like the content you've just seen, don't forget to hit that like button. We can continue the conversation in the comments section below. Any and all sources used for the video can be found in the description, as well as links to the blog and how to support the channel. As always, stay skeptical, never stop asking questions, and always look for the truth.